Piston squirters, one of the smallest parts of an engine. A lot of people don't know what they do or how important they are. Porsche engines, which are air-cooled, piston sits in the barrel, easy enough. Called air-cooled engines, they've got fins, all the cylinder heads are finned, and they've got air running over the top. What a lot of people don't realise is that Porsche engines are primarily oil-cooled. All high-performance engines require pistons to be cooled. The piston expands faster than the bore, and the oil squirter is what does the job. So the oil squirter is positioned in the crankcase, next to, in the bottom of the crankcase. We're just going to slop that one in there, and it runs squirting directly up next to the conrod. And if I put a piston into place, you'll see, relatively speaking, where the piston sits compared to where the oil squirter sits. So that's where the piston's going to be running up and down, and the squirter goes directly under the top of the piston to cool it down. That'll prevent the piston getting too big. It's not to lubricate the piston, it's not to make the piston slide in the barrel any better. It's to cool the piston down. That's its primary purpose. And if the piston doesn't get too hot, it won't seize in the barrel. So we're trying to stop the piston seizing in the barrel and scoring the side of the barrel. Barrel sits on top, so we're trying to stop that being damaged. So there's plenty of oil vapour inside the crankcase to stop the piston seizing from a lubrication point of view. So it's not a lubrication thing, it's a cooling thing. And Porsche engines are oil cooled more than they are air cooled. They started being used by Porsche in the early 70s, and all their engines earlier than that can be retrofitted. So you can fit them to an earlier engine if you're building a high performance engine. The very late model Porsche engines all run 2 squirters, so they consider it to be a pretty important thing. Interestingly, the Porsche piston squirters are different to most. So it's not uncommon for engine manufacturers to have piston squirters fitted to their crankcases, but Porsche are quite tricky in that they've got a valve inside the squirter. So there's a little ball, there's a spring, and then there's an orifice, which is a jet. This ball valve doesn't open up till about 30 pounds pressure. What it means is when the engine is at idle or moving slowly, slow RPMs, you don't get a lot of oil pressure because you don't have the oil pump running fast, and the piston squirter doesn't work. You also don't have a lot of load, so there's no need to cool the piston. So these allow the main bearings to always have oil pressure, even at low RPM. And then when it's higher RPM, they start to squirt and the piston is cooled. So that's why they're special, they're quite a good thing. What can go wrong with a piston squirter? Well, they can get blocked. If any foreign matter goes inside the squirter from the back, it can block up the orifice, which is bad. It's a common reason engines fail. And the other thing is the piston squirter can actually fall out of the crankcase if it hasn't been fixed properly. So there are a couple of things that can go wrong with it. It's really critical when we build engines that they're either removed and the galleries are cleaned out properly, or we have a set of special tools that we can go in and we can use air pressure and blow them out so we can clean them. So it's critical that every piston squirter is tested whenever you rebuild an engine to make sure it's working properly. Otherwise failure won't be long away. That's it, piston squirters.